Welcome to Tim Talks. I want to give the title to this one, Climb Trees. And we created a list this last summer in our nature awareness class of things you could do to help you build your relationship with nature. And I'm going to talk about each one of these things on this list throughout these Tim Talks. And climb trees is one that's really huge. Just to kind of put it out there, some of them on this list is just to get you thinking, and then I want to kind of pull out some. So I'll start off with a few different ones, and then we'll talk about climbing trees. I might have already talked about this one. Be barefoot, walking or sitting as often as you can. Barefoot walking, I'll go into it more deeply. I think I have quite a bit already. I can't say enough how important it is to let your feet touch the earth. To let your feet touch the earth. That is sacred. You're talking sacred ground, the earth. Sacred feet stepping on the earth. The connection that comes up through the earth into you and down from you into the earth. There's no way to repeat it other than to be barefoot. Get into water. When you can, if it's not too cold, and even if it's cold, but it's not like winter where you could get hypothermia, you're just worried about jumping in, deal with the cold. Get in water, lakes, streams and rivers, hot springs, you name it, get into water. To get water around your body, to float in it, to swim, to lay upside down, to kick, is such a magical thing. It's incredible, the feeling. It's like the earth just wrapping her arms around you and just loving you. And the medicine that you pick up from that, the energy, you can't say enough about how important it is. You just can't say enough. And then the next one I put on this list is get out in weather. I'm talking, usually, classic growing up, you hear the weatherman on the TV and he said, bad weather's coming. Like right now, I'm sitting here in my house and there's a huge storm outside of wet snow falling. It's wonderful. It's beautiful. It accentuates the beauty of the land. It's not a bad thing. And it's a time to get in and hibernate. It's part of the time. But in order to appreciate that hibernating, that getting out of the weather and watching it from the inside out, you've got to be willing to go out into it. So I spent all morning out in the weather, getting cold, getting wet, running around, shoveling snow, having a good time, looking at the tracks all the animals are making, feeding my birds. And now I'm in the house warm by my fire, and it's all better because of it's not one over the other. It's living in balance. And then we come on the list to climb trees. This Tim Talk is going to be pretty much about that. When I was growing up, I grew up in a place called Sunnyvale, which is now what's called the Silicon Valley. It's where the technology world, the computer world lives basically. And when I grew up there, it was orchards, woods, creeks, and a few houses. It was a dream place for a kid. Now it's all massive buildings housing computer companies. And I have to tell you that one of the most important parts of my childhood growing up was there was this giant oak tree down the street from my home, and I built a little tree house up in it. And I spent so much time up in that tree. I would climb up in it. Its branches would go out horizontally, which seemed like forever. And it made this beautiful canopy. It was called a live oak, California live oak. And I would sit up in that tree through good times, through bad times, and everything else you could imagine. And I would always be taken care of. I always felt held and loved and respected. So I believe in tree climbing. I've climbed a lot of trees in my life, probably more than I could ever count, and sat up in them for hours on end. And I remember what happened to me after a number of years as Sunnyvale started to grow rapidly into housing developments, how that tree one day called to me and I went running and it was being cut down. And I was a kid and I couldn't do a damn thing about it. Although I did jump in there and cry and the guy stopped to talk to me, but ultimately they cut it down. I felt like that was a wound that stayed with me most of my life. But not in a sense that it made me angry and hateful. It motivated me to really spend a good portion of my life fighting for trees and forests. I just love them. I just love them. And I've had other trees I've sat up in to protect later in my life, onward after that oak. So here's the deal. Climb trees. Of course you got to be safe. You can fall. The human body does not like falling from any more than 10 feet. So you can't fall, right? Number one, you got to be careful. So look at a tree if you decide to climb it. And look at it with an open heart and with the knowledge that you want to climb it. Let the tree know and ask inside, is it okay? Just ask the tree, is it okay? It'll almost always say yes. If you hear no, it's probably because it's a safety issue. The tree knows that you probably shouldn't climb it. So you get that feeling, and then you as you're looking at it, you admire the tree. You respect it for its beauty and for what it can do for the world it lives in. Studies have been done that say that literally an old growth tree, a tree that's never been cut down, that could be huge, like massive, and it could be 200 to 300 feet tall in some forests, like Douglas fir or redwoods. A tree like that can be the home at any given time in its life for 100,000 living beings. That's insects, that's moss, that's lichen, that's plants growing out of it. In the rainforest, like in the Amazon, a giant old tree can have 200 different varieties of plants growing off that one tree. That's birds making nests in trees. That's squirrels making nests. That's pack rats. That's eagles coming and landing on the tree. That's blue jays coming and landing on the tree. You get my drift? That is a true mother. There's an incredible teaching there in learning how to be a caretaker. Look at a tree, and there it is. That's how you do it. That's how you commit yourself to the earth. A tree is a perfect example of the ultimate caretaker and a life giver. What do trees give us? Air. They give us wood for our homes and the supplies for us. They give us food that grow on the trees. They give us astounding beauty. You know, you often think to yourself, I do anyway, what is there that humans agree on? We got to find ways to agree on things, or we're never going to do anything. We're always at each other like this. Almost every human I've ever met find trees to be wonderful and beautiful. We agree on that. Wonderful and beautiful. Everybody loves trees, right? And so to climb a tree, after you stare at it for a while and you get the feeling either internally or externally or both to climb the tree, then climb it, and every time you put your hand on a branch or your foot on a branch, just feel the energy of the tree, the life force of it, and ask it internally to hold you close and to protect you and to teach you. Be open to teaching, being taught, and teaching. As you climb higher and higher and higher until you get to a place where you feel comfortable and safe, then settle in and observe the world from the tree's point of view. Look, not only look within, but look out and see, how does the tree see the world? How would a tree feel if you were up in it and a logger came through the woods with a chainsaw? What would that feel like? How would it feel if you were in a tree and a golden eagle landed in it and it was blessed by that wonderful bird? How would it be to see a fisher climb up a tree and make a home in it, or a squirrel or a bird? Trees ultimately are the gift that never stops giving. When they die, they're still beautiful and they're still full of life. And even when they fall to the ground, after they've been standing dead for a long time, they become the earth itself and they become full of life, like insects and so forth. It's so much to gain from spending time with trees. And climbing them is really personal. And also, don't forget, it's a whole lot of fun. I mean, it's a whole lot of fun to climb trees. All right? So, and when you do climb them, don't just, sometimes you're just going to climb up quick and down. Sure, I get that. But when you can, stay a while. And I've stayed in trees for many days before. If you have a lifestyle that could allow that, whoa, is that an incredible gift to give to yourself? And then let the tree inspire you to go out and be an earth caretaker and care for our planet, care for the force. All right? So climb trees, climb trees, climb trees, climb trees. I can't tell you how important it is. Hope.